So I think we all look forward to sort of an escape sometimes. And we're happy for the escape that the World Cup brings for those of us who partake in some football. Uh, Later today, I don't even see any TV in the studio. The TV is over there? Yes. There are people over here and no TV. Mark you, the games are on when I am off, so I'll be able to have a look and to, to shout all sorts of directives to the players when I'm watching in my own space. So we look forward to the schedule later on today. So today now, where are we? Yesterday, Mexico, South Africa, good match. Good match. Mexico really came to play. Not sure about South Africa. They really didn't depart in time. Last evening, as I mentioned to Derek this morning, I saw some of the game with South Korea and Czech Republic, and that started about 9 last evening. And very impressive in terms of the attack from South Korea. Much of the attack kept fizzling for certainly the first half and into at least the first quarter of the second half. They got it together and were able to equalize and then to go ahead of Czech Republic to take that 1-2-1. Later today, Canada will be up in Group B. That's at 2 o'clock against Bosnia. This name always gives me a bit of problem. Herzegovina. And also the United States will take on Paraguay this evening at 8 o'clock. So for those who've had a long week, you will have something to look forward to catch up on that game. So interesting days ahead in light of all of the political challenges, the geopolitical issues that keep almost being the unruly horse threatening to throw the rider. We are just happy that we have something to look forward to. I know that there are some people who are in some sort of protest and not intending to watch a single minute of the World Cup. Good morning to you, my friend. I don't know who we spite when we do that, so I'm not going to deprive myself of the chance of watching the games now, despite my discomfort with a lot of what is going on. But I do understand the point of principle that some people take and decide not to watch any of the games. Yeah? As I was journeying to the studio this morning, I couldn't help but note again the rough and tumble of traffic. And only some hours now, we know that the pricing system of Petrojam has changed because Petrojam has indicated they can no longer absorb as much as they used to with their soothing effect in terms of the increases in the price of oil. So every single one of us will begin to feel much more than we have felt before the not even near full impact. We'll begin to feel some impact as we've never felt it before as a result of the war between the United States and Iran. Those especially who use the ultra-low sulfur diesel and the diesel products were made to understand that you'll be looking at upwards of a $12.50 increase on the purchases. It's not an individual purchase. I don't even know for how long this is going to last. But this morning I stopped at the petrol station, for example. I think it normally takes a shade over $10,000 to full my tank. And the tank was half, but I'm in the habit of filling up at the same petrol station the weeks when I come to Radio Jamaica. Yeah? The gentleman who owns the petrol station is from my parish, and I love to support my people, so I now go to the petrol station, fill up once a week. But even so, and they have the best prices, I think. When I pulled up today, my tank was half, and I usually go to the petrol station when my tank is empty, full up, top up. But today I decided, let me go fill it up. And the half tank was costing near $8,000. So it means even for my car that used to be a shade over 10,000 to full, half is getting me a little bit near to 8,000. I say this because I don't think we have ever properly felt the effects of the movement in the price of oil as we are going to be feeling it now, because Petrojam is not doing the smoothing effect as it used to, because even Petrojam cannot continue to absorb the actual increase in the cost of fuel, right? It means, therefore, we have to consider seriously strategizing the times at which we are on the road, so we don't create the bottlenecks that we are creating. Every single time we have to press on the brake and to hold ourselves up in traffic is more petrol we are burning. So if we don't have to be on the road, the price of petrol is now going to teach us that we need to stay home. I had to come to Radio Jamaica this morning, so I had to be in the traffic. But some of you, because we won't be able to afford it, very soon you're going to have to ask yourselves, do I need to be on the road at the times when I'm on the road? And what can I do so I don't end up creating a traffic jam, burning more petrol, because I'm not going to be able to afford it? I spoke to Dr. Damian King on this program some weeks ago, and as an economist and head of a research institute, and that institute does an awful lot of work into deep analysis of matters concerning the economy and giving some recommendations and so forth. He was of the view that the government really shouldn't be cushioning the effects of the increase in petrol prices at all, because that does not result in change in human behavior. Behavioral change can only come when people realize, okay, if my tank, which used to cost $10,000, is now costing $17,000 or $18,000 for me to fill it up, then it means during the time when it's costing $17,000, $18,000, I am not going to make those country runs. I am not going to be on the road at 7:30 in the mornings, because I can do what I wish to do at 7:30 in the morning, perhaps at about 11:30 when the traffic is less. I'm not going to be heading to the office if I can literally work at home, because I need to save the money with what is happening with the petrol. And I appreciate the argument in terms of the need to curb behavior to try and see how we can lessen demand when we have a crisis, which we do have now in terms of oil. But because it's something we haven't yet learned, this particular episode may take a little while to sink in. But it has to sink in very fast. One of the things I hope to do today as well is to find out from, let's say, JPS, what exactly they anticipate the impact of this process of Petrojam in terms of the increase in this smoothing factor for the diesel products. How many of their plants use diesel, if any? And what is the throughput? What is the expectation of the impact on the cost of electricity for customers at different levels of monthly consumption? It is something that is so real, and we go about our businesses here in Jamaica and in other parts of the world almost immune to the war. No, that is ongoing. And the only time that we're really going to sit up and take notice is when it begins to bite. And it is going to begin to bite like no, because Petrojam cannot manage anymore. I was made to understand through media broadcasts that they actually had to borrow some money from central government because whatever cushioning they were doing, they didn't have enough. And they had to borrow, and whatever is borrowed, it has to be paid back in terms of an accounting exercise. Just let me take a break. We're back with you in a moment.
From Jamaica to London.
Morning, the Planning Institute of Jamaica, the Director General there, Dr. Wayne Henry. Good morning to you, Dr. Wayne Henry. He's suggesting flexible, hybrid, and remote work arrangements, saying that he believes those can help to manage the fuel price shocks, reduce pressure on imports, and strengthen Jamaica's economic resilience by reducing commuting activity and lowering fuel demand. I think this is really a discussion that we are going to need to engage some more. I know they had a full session of the Economy and Production Committee of Parliament on Wednesday, and a lot of people were gathered there with the requisite skills to provide their views on what can be done. But public, we have to wake up to what is going on. Yeah, we are really too comfortable in extremely uncomfortable situation, and we just don't realize how uncomfortable it is because too many things have been cushioning the effect. There's going to be a spin-off, and a massive spin-off with what Petrojam has had to do. Prices are going to increase, and they're going to be increasing pretty fast. Yeah, I can't even begin to tell you what those are, but whatever it is that has used diesel, whether it's the truckers to get from one place to the next to do whatever manufacturing or whatever, those business owners who have to buy the petrol, whatever products they produce, they're going to be increasing the purchase price for those products. And this is where things balloon out of control because the inflationary effects now, they just roll over. Yeah? And it's near impossible for a country such as Jamaica, especially one that is recovering from a Category 5 hurricane, to be able to absorb the shock for any greater period of time than Petrojam has already absorbed it. Yeah? So please take note and do what you must and adjust how we behave because of this present storm in which we are firmly placed and probably don't even realize it. Yesterday now I heard on the news, which I see on the front page of the Observer this morning, that plea talks were being engaged by attorney for Leoda Bradshaw in the matter for which she is now before the court. And then later on, the news item said that the talks collapsed. This matter is of more than of passing interest to the people of Jamaica for many reasons, because of the allegations surrounding the death of this 10-month-old daughter. And for the life of me, sometimes I don't know why we keep calling Philip Paulwell's name in this thing. It is Philip Paulwell's daughter, but I don't know if we need to be identifying him at all points in time when the thing is published. Yeah? But it becomes a very important issue for us because of the allegations surrounding the killing of this 10-month-old child, or the disappearance, and her mother, 27-year-old Tashana Pattison. But more importantly, I think the developments surrounding the Joyleanne Silvera case, where we were preparing to hear whatever details we could from an in-camera trial. And then we heard that a plea was put on the table by Mr. Silvera, and then we heard that the plea was accepted by the prosecution, and then we heard that the learned trial judge had to decide whether to accept it or not, and then we learned that the plea was accepted. And the debates that went on in the public, and all of the criticisms leveled at the office of the DPP, which was occupied at the time for a very short period of time by the newly installed DPP, Claudette Thompson. It was something to see. And you've been here, listeners. You know, some of you have probably criticized the decision to accept the guilty plea. But as far as I understand it in that matter, and I've explained it before, based on the release that was sent out by the office of the DPP, what they said in relation to Silvera is that there were gaps in their case theory. There were factual gaps that they could not fill, and based on what the defendant then disclosed to them when he gave the guilty plea and made some things available to the prosecution, those gaps were filled. And on top of that, the office of the DPP, based on the statements that they had available, there was no eyewitness to support the case theory that they had. And that is the reason they explained to us, as painful as it was for many people to accept, it made a lot of legal sense to me as to why they accepted that particular plea in the Silvera matter, and which led to the acceptance of this plea of provocation in the case of the murder of his wife. Now we come to this matter, and I couldn't help when I heard the report about talks. I couldn't help but to throw my mind back to the Silvera matter, and the talks having now collapsed. And then news also came that a number of the other people who were charged or the co-accused in this matter, I'm not sure how many of them so far have pleaded guilty, but I believe at least 2, could be 3, pleaded guilty. Then my mind kept wondering, what is it about this case? Why a plea deal or plea talks collapse with Miss Bradshaw? And it seems to me that the case, in terms of the availability of potential witnesses, especially in light of the plea deals that we are hearing about, it is perhaps fundamentally different from what obtained with the Silvera matter. And I'm sure that the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions is now more than acutely aware that the public happen to be watching this like hawks and willing to pounce where they believe that something lesser than what they've anticipated is accepted. So, in light of the inability to come to some sort of an agreement, the matter is now set for trial for later on this year. Yeah? So we watch and we see, I think in light of what the Honorable Mr. Justice Sykes outlined, certainly in the sentencing of Silvera, we hear of the different types of murder that there are, or manslaughter, certainly in Silvera's case. And part of the news item that was carried was in relation to this matter of capital versus non-capital murder. Apparently, the indictment, let me tell you what the Observer has, maybe clearer. A disagreement on Thursday between the Crown and the legal team for Leoda Bradshaw over her alleged involvement in the 2023 abduction and murder of parliamentarian Philip Paulwell's 10-month-old daughter Soraya and the child's mother, 27-year-old Tashania Pattison, saw the DPP declaring, quote, "We are going to trial." Bradshaw, who's been in custody since October 2023, was expected to have a plea and case management hearing later this month, but ended up in the Supreme Court for a hearing before Chief Justice Brian Sykes after the defense asked for the matter to be brought forward. So if the defense asked for the matter to be brought forward, it must be with an intention to plead. But they say Thompson explained that while her office indicted Bradshaw for capital murder, the defense team for the accused woman was minded to plead guilty to non-capital murder and had served notice on the prosecution of their intention to seek a Newton hearing. A Newton hearing is a legal procedure used when a defendant pleads guilty but disagrees with the prosecution over the exact facts of the crime. Because the facts after affect sentencing, a judge alone decide which version is true. In a quote here attributed to the DPP, it seems my friend would like to plead guilty to murder under Section 2.2 of the Offences Against a Person Act. My understanding is that if the accused were to so plead, then the court would be limited. She said the prosecution is of the view that the murder falls instead under 2.1(e)(1) of the legislation, and under that provision, which was amended recently, individuals convicted of capital murder face life imprisonment with a minimum of 50 years before eligibility for parole, while non-capital murder convictions require a minimum of 45 years. Lead counsel for Ms. Bradshaw, Deborah Martin, told the court her client had given detailed statement in preparation to plead guilty. Yes, you know, the other thing about this is, how does one go through a trial and have a fair trial when all of this information has been put out? How does it work? Which juror out there has closed ears? Anyway, the court continues. In subsequent conversations with the Crown, they indicated, having perused the statement, her account of events was not consistent with that of the other witnesses on whom the Crown intended to rely. They had settled their indictment, which is part of what I mentioned, how I reflected on this versus the Silvera matter. Wow. This is, I'm sure it's not the first of its kind, but it certainly does raise the question of the issue of fair trial in the face of an indication of an intention to plead guilty to something of a lesser offense. When the plea is rejected, how does it work? Can a trial be fair in those circumstances? We shall see. I'm out of time.
Join us next time for Emily's Views.